Manny's real name is Emmanuel Pacquiao. Born on December 17th of 1978 in Kimbawi, a town that's part of the Bukidnon province, Manny would be the second child of his mother's second marriage.
Nakatayo yung bahay namin sa may maliit na coconut tree. Diyan nakatayo yung bahay namin. Dati, ngayon wala na.
A marriage that would last 20 years after Manny's mother found his father having an affair. This is meaningful because it would thrust Manny into the role of the provider. But it's not like things were great before this. By the age of 5, he had already seen his first dead body. And in the 6th grade, he had dropped out of school to sell donuts to help his family. He would also help the local fishermen in exchange for some of the catch. It was enough to feed him and his family. But now that his father was gone, he felt the pressure of helping out more. Having just gone through a civil war, the Philippines was a country struggling to find its way. Opportunities for work was minimal, so at the age of 13, he left for Manila to seek opportunity. At the age of 16, Manny tried turning pro, even though the minimal age was 18. This is the same guy at 16 weighing 98 pounds, who would go up to beat Margarito. Manny would win his first regional title at the age of 18 years old, and then capture the WBC flyweight title 2 years later. After this, he would win the title at the super bantamweight division and would defend it 5 times successfully in the Philippines. Then Manny would make a career choice that would change the landscape of sports, specifically of boxing. Manny would fly out of the Philippines to meet who would polish him into the superstar we all know today, the legendary Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach is a legend within the sport, a disciple of the great Eddie Futch, Hall of Fame trainer based out of Detroit, Michigan.
That's what motivated.
He coached Joe Frazier, Larry Holmes, Riddick Bowe, Michael Spinks, Alexis Arguello. Oh, and if that wasn't enough for you casuals, he also beat Ali 5 times coaching against him. Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, Larry Holmes to victories over the legend. He was the teacher that would shape the mind of Freddie Roach.
And now that I'm bigger than you and older than you almost, I'm gonna pay you back for making me run so much.
After finding perfect chemistry, the two took 2 weeks to fill in a fight for the IBF Super Bantamweight title. Pacquiao would step in as the unknown fighter, whose name cannot be pronounced correctly.
Tail of the tape for Lisanola Ledwaba against Manny Pacquiao. I'll get it right, Pacquiao.
It was the coming out party of the new force to be reckoned with. The year was 2003. It is significant because the world would be stunned for the first time of many. In 2003, the scene of the featherweight division was absolutely red hot, with legends like Eric Morales, Marcantonio Barrera, Juan Manuel Marquez, Nassim Hamed, and Johnny Mi Vida Loca Tapia all calling the division home. Barrera, at this point in his career, he was an absolute legend in the sport.
Universally recognized featherweight champion of the world, the baby-faced assassin, Marco Antonio Barrera.
Having already fought Morales twice, cementing their rivalry as one to define an era in boxing.
2 left hooks by Barrera, and Morales is wobbled. Morales using the ropes to steady himself, almost went down. The rope skip.
But in 2003, Barrera would unknowingly welcome a fellow legend to the grand stage. Let's be clear, Manny had everything to gain and nothing to lose. Barrera represented the absolute cream of the crop. He was on an 8-fight win streak that spanned 3 years, including victories over Prince Nassim Hamed, Eric El Terrible Morales, and Johnny Mi Vida Loca Tapia. Manny would stop Barrera in the 11th round in dramatic fashion.
Barrera's corner man is up on the apron. He's gonna step into the ring. That's a good decision. Finally, they could have done that 2 rounds ago.
This victory would also be one of many signature wins for the new superstar in the sport. But not 1 year later, Manny would be headlining another boxing classic. Juan Manuel Marquez needs no introduction due to his current relevancy. But at the time, he was far from the legendary fighter we all know today. He was in fact a plant underneath the canopy, struggling to get a ray of sunlight. Whether it was politics in boxing or just bad luck, Marquez had yet to get a signature fight or opportunity to forge his name into superstardom, like his counterparts in Mexico. Barrera and Morales were the national heroes, not Marquez. Marquez, though, was looking to capitalize on his new opportunity. On May 8th of 2004, the two met in the MGM Grand. The fight had all the drama you can ask for.
By Marquez as he did on a quick left hook there. And he fires the straight left hand. And there's the punching bout. One and another.
He's hurt now. He's hurt.
Down he goes.
He's hurt.
Pacquiao up.
But he's going straight back.
Third knockdown of the first round. Marquez has been down 3 times already.
But little did we know that it was only chapter 1 in the rivalry that would engulf the entire sport. Having fought to a draw, Manny retained his belts and his newly acquired clout. It would be important because his new challenger would require all his skills and power as much as ever. Because his next fight would be 1 calendar year later after his Marquez fight against none else than Eric El Terrible Morales.
De la zona norte, Tijuana, Mexico, the 3-time world champion, Eric El Terrible Morales.
Since 1994 onwards, Morales has had a belt wrapped around his waist, only losing to Barrera twice in what would be legendary fights.
Combination by Barrera as Morales overcommitted with the right hand, and Barrera hurt him badly to end that round.
You see, going 12 rounds with one of the best to ever lace him was an impressive feat for a man who nearly 4 years ago had just met Freddie Roach. Manny, though, would make lemons out of lemonade, if none else. Because in the same year, he would turn around to defeat Hector Velasquez for the WBC Super Featherweight title. On January 21st of 2006, Manny would again face Morales in what would be chapter 2 in their rivalry. But this time, Manny meant business.
And there he goes. Good call, Manny. That's the first real knockdown of Eric Morales' career.
Things would be far from the first fight. Manny would hurt Morales in the second round twice.
Yeah, he says he's got the puncher's gloves.
Manny, the crowd chants. And he almost knocks Morales down with the left.
Yeah, the straight left.
Momentarily stuns there. But Morales always fights back when he's stunned.
And again in the 6th, where the ref had to save Morales from falling. By the 10th round, though, his corner had seen enough.
But it's almost impossible to imagine it now.
It's over.
There's the second knockdown and the stoppage. Manny Pacquiao has knocked out the great Eric Morales.
A great victory for Pacquiao.
It would be 10 months and Manny was facing Morales again. In under 3 years, Manny had fought an all-time great 3 times, winning 2 of the 3. It would be also the 3rd fight that left it clear to the boxing world Manny was a true force of nature. What we did not know was that the first Morales fight was to kick off a 10-year run that would make him the superstar we know today. Manny could have retired the only man to stop Morales twice up to date. 3-time world champion and the first Filipino 3-time world champion, a national icon and boxing sensation. I mean, each fight in the next 10-year stretch can be a video of its own. They were all signature wins over legitimate, dangerous opponents, facing 9 future Hall of Famers along the way. A 10-year stretch that would see Manny go from boxing superstar to boxing lore. It would allow Pacquiao's name to enter the conversation of all-time great.
Who would you like to see Manny face next if given the opportunity?
Well, yeah, everyone wants to see Barrera, of course, because, you know, we beat Barrera. He has all the belts right now, and we want the belts.
Nearly a year after defeating Morales in the 3rd fight, Manny would face Barrera again. Both fighters were in different stages of their career. Manny was at the start of his legendary run through the sport, and Barrera was already showing signs of aging. So their second fight was 4 years later after their first, and Barrera would also fall short of avenging his loss. A year after fighting Barrera, Manny would fight Marquez for a second time, and it would be an absolute classic of a fight that again would split the sport.
More effective in this exchange.
Uppercut by Marquez. Huge left hook. Bucko Pacquiao.
Fourth from this right here.
Down goes Marquez on a straight left-hand shot.
An amazingly even fight, and the straight right hand by Marquez.
The two would fight for 12 rounds and end up going to the cards.
Manny Pacquiao.
Marquez, unhappy with the decision, yelled it was a robbery.
No se me ha ido nada. Yo hice un gran trabajo, la gente es el mejor juez. La gente nos vio ganar y bueno, que él puede hacer uno a esto. Estas decisiones hacen que un peleador se desanime o se haga más fuerte.
I haven't lost anything. I haven't lost anything at all. And the people will see, and the people know who really won the fights. And we will see, and decisions like this one obviously is discouraged, but we believe we won.
But honestly, it could have gone either way. The rounds were razor thin. What we can extrapolate from the fight was that Marquez was indeed a late bloomer, and Manny, well, he was just getting started. He would move up in weight to challenge David Diaz, the lightweight champion, for his belt. Diaz was no pushover either. He was a 3-time National Golden Glove winner, a member of the 1996 Olympic team, but he would be no match for the surging, in his prime, Manny Pacquiao.
Just will not quit is the guy who wins.
Oh, he just caught a right. Softened up, but he's certainly mushy.
On June 28th of 2008, Manny delivered one of the most electrifying knockouts in the history of boxing.
Be able to rise to the level, but he seems to be one
There, down he goes with the left hand. Fight is over.
Fight's over. Thank you.
Big left hand. It came from not too far away.
About 6 inches.
With the knockout of Diaz, Manny had become the first Filipino fighter ever to win a lightweight title.
It was too fast. Fucker was too fast.
Did you have any idea coming in that he could be that way?
I was like, I thought Freddie was in there hitting me too. So
The fighting pride of the Philippines, now a 4-time world champion and new WBC lightweight champion of the world.
Are you now the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world?
Now, by all means, Pacquiao was already a giant superstar in and outside of the sport. The wins over Barrera and Morales were instant classics against legends. And his rivalry with Marquez was unfolding to be one for ages. It would be Larry Merchant who would be credited with coming up with the idea. He would pitch this idea to Golden Boy and Bob Arum. Manny, the pound-for-pound champ, against the Golden Boy in his last fight.
Is regarded as #1 pound for pound, but he's a much smaller man. What went into your decision-making process? Because, Oscar, you can fight anybody for big, big money. Why go against this guy? Where, look, he's a much smaller man, and isn't there more to lose against a much smaller man?
Well, the fact that they challenged me.
Everybody challenges you, Oscar.
Absolutely. the best fighter in the planet. The fact that he challenged me. The fact that he said he can knock me out. And I think the fact that Freddie Roach, who trained me for Mayweather Jr., says I cannot pull the trigger anymore. Okay, well let's see what's going to happen December.
Many though thought that Oscar would just be too big for the Filipino fighter. After all, the fight was at a catchweight. Manny at the time had to come up 2 weight classes, weighing in at 142 pounds, and Oscar had to go down 2 weight classes to weigh in at 145. People speculated that either fighter could even make the weight. Others said that it was a freak fight. Oscar was fighting at middleweight before fighting Mayweather, and then dropped 2 weight classes to fight a man who was 4 inches shorter than him. Many even went as far as saying that it was a mismatch for Manny. Manny would absolutely destroy Oscar, battering the legend for 8 rounds.
But Manny is too smart and too fast for him.
This fight's going to probably end up being stopped.
Manny Pacquiao is annihilating Oscar De La Hoya. And in the...
I think Jim summed it up. There's too much of to get into the fight, how to hold him off, how to get to him. It's too much of everything tonight.
Starting his offense with it, as he's doing there, shows the Golden Boy is being dethroned. It's happening at the hands of the fighter who may have the best chance of picking up his identity as the economic bell cow of the sport. Because Pacquiao's following is growing, not just in the Pacific Rim, but in the United States and Latin America as well.
Manny had seized the opportunity and transcended the sport.
An accomplishment as big as what Pacquiao did tonight. Maybe Foreman's win over Moore is the valid comparison. Something so illogical, so unusual, that you simply couldn't have imagined it would happen.
Going from boxing superstar to global attraction, to the face of boxing. You have to remember, in 2008, Mayweather had just taken his first retirement away from boxing. The two from here on out would be poised to fight each other on and off again, until 6 years later when the two finally met, way past their prime. The saga of Floyd and Manny's fight is one filled with drama from top to bottom. I won't mention Floyd again until I go over his fight with Manny. The two would then defeat the same fighter over the next 7 years. Ricky Hatton would be the next victim.
Welterweight champion of the world, Ricky.
After having lost and bounced back after losing his undefeated record to Mayweather, Hatton was looking to regain his place in the boxing lore. The fight would get a full promotion and a full 24/7 series. The fight would be used by many as a comparison for Mayweather and Manny. On May 2002 of 2009, Pacquiao would make a statement. He would again give boxing another devastating knockout.
That is, oh my gosh, what a straight left there. And will Hatton make it up from this?
Can he beat the count?
Is that it? And Kenny Barrow says, no way.
The knockout would turn him into only the second fighter in history to win 6 titles in 6 different divisions, sharing that honor with none else than the Golden Boy Oscar De La Hoya, earning Knockout of the Year for 2009. The aftermath would be devastating for Hatton. The loss would drive him to suicidal thoughts and an early retirement.
I haven't got boxing no more. What do I have to live for? And I tried to kill myself. I tried to slit my wrist and never had the courage to go with it, but it was happening. Me trying to do it was every night, and I never had the courage to finally go through with it.
Being now crowned as the biggest attraction in boxing, the next move would be historic in every sense. Manny would now try to win his 7th title in his 7th division, against none else than the Puerto Rican Hall of Fame fighter, Miguel Cotto. The fight would be for Cotto's welterweight title, and it would be at a catchweight as well. Manny would have to weigh in at 144, and Cotto would have to weigh in at 145. Cotto was also ranked at the time number 7 in the pound-for-pound list and was a 2-division world champion. His only loss was to the infamous boogeyman at the time, Antonio Margarito. Margarito, as we know, was using illegal hand wraps that contain plaster of Paris, a material that turns solid inside of your gloves. But more on that later. Cotto bounced back and had won 2 fights in a row and a vacant title along the way. On November 14th of 2009, Miguel Cotto would face Manny Pacquiao in the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the night would see Manny put on another classic performance of speed and power.
The gloves.
Manny would knock down Cotto in the 3rd and the 4th round, to then stop the future Hall of Famer in the 12th round via TKO, making Manny the first fighter to ever win 7 titles in 7 divisions. The fight in turn would make Manny versus Mayweather a must-happen event. People wanted answers. They wanted to see if the 7-time champion had enough to beat who many consider the best boxer of all time. Ultimately, though, the two would not meet at the time the fan base desired for reasons that we still don't know today. Manny's next fight would be against Joshua Kaladi, and well, it was pretty uneventful due to Kaladi not wanting to get knocked the fuck out and everything. The next fight after the snooze fest was Antonio Margarito. Margarito was by now far from the admired boogeyman he once was. After having assaulted Miguel Cotto, Margarito would then fight Shane Mosley. The fight that would reveal that Margarito's trainer had been tampering with his hand wraps, turning his hand wraps rock solid. Margarito would be whooped by Mosley, but many thought that the punishment was not justice enough. On November 13, Manny would get to etch his name farther away from the rest of boxing by challenging Antonio Margarito for the vacant super middleweight title. The legendary bout will take place in the AT&T Stadium in the home of the Dallas Cowboys in Arlington, Texas.
Margarito around the ring. And he's beating Margarito up in this round. There's a huge welt under Margarito's right eye. He's backing Margarito up, and he's hurting him. And Margarito can say all he wants that Pacquiao can't hurt him, but that's not true.
On fight night, Margarito would have a 5-inch height advantage, and he would be weighing in at 165 pounds the day of the fight, weighing 17 pounds more than Manny. But speed and power are forever deadly.
Yeah, but a regular 140-pounder, I think Manny would have knocked.
World-class, one-handed fight. Margarito banging him against the ropes here, trying to get to Pacquiao's body. That could change the fight. Pacquiao fighting back with his back.
Here comes
and he
Manny.
turns it around and bangs Margarito deep. It's bigger than himself, touching him out of commission to make Margarito shave off the beard, which probably they would have done. Pacquiao said, leave it there. I want to use it as a target. That's a fighter.
In front of 41,734 fans, Manny Pacquiao became the first and only 8-time world champion in 8 different divisions. Manny would beat Margarito in 12 rounds, at one point even begging the referee to stop the fight. Manny would make this known in his post-fight interview.
It looked to us as though you turned to the referee, maybe asking him to stop the fight. Can you tell us what happened there when you were looking towards the referee in the 11th round?
Yeah, because I feel pity to my opponent, and he looks his eyes and his bloody face, and take a look for that.
But many did not share the sentiment that the legend did. Whether the Filipino wanted to or not, he served as a vehicle of justice with his hands, fracturing Margarito's orbital bone and causing a permanent injury, an injury that would ultimately serve as the weak point that Cotto would expose in the rematch. After Margarito, Manny would fight another aging Hall of Famer in Shane Mosley. Manny would again have his hand raised after 12 rounds against Mosley. The next fight would be against Juan Manuel Marquez, their 3rd fight in their rivalry and yet another war.
Es 8:30 de la noche. Y vaya combinación. La derecha de Marquez.
Sometió Juan Márquez. Y qué festejo de Chevrolet que cumple 100 años. Celebremos juntos.
This time though, Manny would earn a majority decision. The fans did not see him as the victor.
Manny, what are your feelings about this fight? You hear the crowd, they're not happy with the decision. What do you think?
Well, the fans of Marquez, of course, they're not happy, but my fans, they're very happy because it's clearly I won the fight.
You said coming into this fight, you wanted to leave no doubt.
Many in boxing thought that Marquez had won the fight despite the CompuBox punch count, setting up the stage for the possible 4th fight. Manny's 7-year win streak would then come to an end in 2012 at the hands of Desert Storm Timothy Bradley, in a fight where the American suffered an early injury and gutted it out till the end. Bradley would be awarded a controversial split decision, handing the Filipino fighter his first loss in 3/4 of a decade.
I mean, I respect that, but I believe that I won the fight.
To bounce back, Manny would look at Marquez again to settle it once and for all. In fact, it would be nearly a year later after their 3rd fight. On December 8th of 2012, Manny and Marquez would fight for the 4th time. The fight would take place in the MGM Grand in Las Vegas.
Now the bell rings. Is it round 1 or round 37?
Manny was ranked number 2 in the pound-for-pound rankings, and Marquez was ranked number 6. The fight would be as tight as the first 3.
Pacquiao 12 of 41, Marquez 6 of 41. Pacquiao with a 9-6 edge in power shots landed, according to CompuBox. By Marquez, and for the first time in 4 fights, Manny Pacquiao has been knocked out. That's the first time in 39 rounds that Juan Manuel Marquez has been able to put Manny Pacquiao down, and he did it with his signature right hand over the top.
And that's the punch, the Luger punch.
The 5th round would prove to be the beginning of the climax. It would open with drama at the highest level.
It's been a fascinating first 4 rounds. The headline stories, Pacquiao's movement, Marquez's right hand knockdown in the 3rd round.
Manny was looking to finish the Mexican fighter once and for all. Manny would then knock down Marquez to even out the early knockdown.
Some feints, and Marquez right there. And there comes the knockdown.
Pacquiao evens up the knockdown count as he puts Marquez on the canvas, or at least forces him to touch his glove to the canvas to score the knockdown in round 5.
Unloading a series of left hands that would break the nose of Marquez. The round ended with Manny wobbling Marquez. The staggering Mexican fighter just escaped the finish.
Boy, 5 years ago, we didn't know that Marquez had that in him. But he is fighting back from some really killer shots.
What a round! What a round! Oh, boy, Vegas. Pacquiao evened up the knockdown count.
The 6th round was shaping up to be the final round in their fierce rivalry.
Pacquiao's been landing early. There's another left hand.
It had taken 4 fights for Manny to finally be in a position to put the Mexican fighter away once and for all.
Drama king. has created more drama, brought us the blood of drama, and brought out the battler.
Marquez's mouthpiece is out of his mouth.
But in a split second, Marquez would deliver a moment of genius, a knockout that would be heard around the entire world.
Tries to roar back to nail Pacquiao with the right hand. Oh! That's another knockdown.
He's not getting up, Jim.
Get up.
He's not getting up, Jim. He's not getting up.
No, he's been knocked out. A sensational right hand knockout by a bloodied Juan Manuel Marquez. And that is the keystone moment of his career.
He was now in a position he had put many in. The moment would cast a feeling of imminent retirement for the Filipino fighter. And for Marquez, it was vindication for the many times he felt robbed.
Damas y caballeros de Ciudad de México, Juan Manuel Dinamita.
After this knockout, Manny would take a year away from the sport. His family now felt he had nothing to fight for anymore. He had done it all. 8 titles, 8 divisions, first to ever do it. But the goodbye would be short-lived, because it would only be 1 year later and he would be back doing what he does best. The fight against Mayweather would be 3 years after the knockout. It would go on to be the highest selling fight in history, totaling at 4.4 million pay-per-view buys, 71.1 million in ticket sales. The demand of the fight was so high that people crashed the pay-per-view ordering system momentarily. The McCarran Airport even prohibited private jets from landing on the day of the event, making room for the commercial planes carrying tons of spectators. The number of sales and overall business though was far more impressive than the fight ever was.
Another left hand lands for Pacquiao. He's gotten him in. This is a reminder of the early rounds of the Oscar De La Hoya fight.
We're not gonna, man, you fight like you scared, man. Stop fighting, man, like you fight.
Mayweather would again prove why many consider him the best boxer in the history of the sport.
And still undefeated,
boxing his way to a majority decision that left a lot to be desired.
Manny, what's your impression of this fight?
Well, it's a good fight. I thought I won the fight.
You thought you won the fight? Why?
He didn't do nothing. He always move outside.
Manny would keep on fighting for almost 6 years, losing only 2 times in 8 fights. One of those losses being a clear robbery against a Filipino fighter.
Listen, congratulations, great effort. I thought you lost, but great effort. I thought this guy was landing the punches. You were throwing a lot that were missing, but you showed great heart.
Bradley and Manny would settle their split victories in a trilogy fight. His last fight was against the Cuban Yordenis Ugas, a skilled and tough fighter who was filling in for the original opponent, Errol Spence Jr. The Spence Jr. fight never materialized because at the age of 42, the now Senator Manny Pacquiao was very far from the myth of a fighter that had created his aura of invincibility. But Manny would fall short of conquering Ugas, and when all said and done, Pacquiao retired with 62 wins, 2 draws. Manny would also take part in 26 pay-per-view events, totaling 20.4 million buys and $1.2 billion in revenue. In the end, Pacquiao would walk away the only 8-time world champion in 8 different weight divisions. Fun fact, he would also be the first 4-time welterweight champion after defeating Keith Thurman to win the WBA title. Pacquiao is also the record holder for having world championships as a boxer in 4 decades, meaning he was the champion in the 1990s, the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. After all said and done and hanging up the gloves, the Pac-Man truly was one of the greats, whether you liked him or not.
Just the fact